Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel, USA News Express. We're back with another explainer, and today we are diving deep into a conflict that is literally redefining modern history. We're talking about the unprecedented 2026 US-Iran war. You know, this isn't just some localized dispute, it's a massive, multi-front confrontation that is shaking global markets, testing international law, and introducing completely new methods of warfare.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the word war, your mind probably jumps straight to traditional battlefields, right? Troops, tanks, maybe drones and missiles. But I really want you to rethink that. Based on the extensive reporting and data we've gathered from recent months, fighting a war in 2026 looks vastly different. The physical battlefield? Well, it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
To truly grasp the sheer chaos of this conflict, we have to look at the three distinct theaters where it's being fought simultaneously. First up, the physical theater, which involves intense aerial bombardments and drone strikes. Second, the economic theater, dominated by a crippling maritime blockade. And third, a surreal, highly advanced informational theater, driven entirely by artificial intelligence and deep fakes.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the escalation of military strikes, move into blockading the Strait of Hormuz, unpack the AI information war, examine the deadlock in peace negotiations, and finally, look at the global fallout and the future.
Section 1. Escalation of military strikes. The timeline of this conflict has been incredibly explosive. It officially kicked off back in February 2026 with Operation Epic Fury, which was this massive, aggressive wave of strikes. By April, a fragile ceasefire was announced, though honestly it was marred by near-constant regional skirmishes. In May, back-channel talks started up in Qatar. But by June, that ceasefire was hanging by a thread. The U.S. military reported striking Iranian radar and drone control sites in Guruk and Keshmum Island after an American MQ-1 drone was allegedly shot down. Iran then retaliated, and that led to incidents like Kuwait actually having to intercept incoming drones and missiles right in its own airspace.
Now, what's really interesting when you look at this geographical spread is the staggering scale of the violence. We aren't just looking at the US and Iran directly targeting each other's mainland. The crossfire involves Kuwaiti airspace, the US Navy base in Bahrain, and extensive, heavy cross-border exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria. It's a deeply interconnected regional web. A strike in one area literally triggers alarms in three others instantly.
Section 2. Blockading the Strait of Hormuz.
118. According to recent reports, that is the massive number of commercial vessels that have either been redirected, disabled, or intercepted because of the U.S. naval blockade and Iran's subsequent countermeasures. The U.S. essentially set up a blockade to intercept ships doing business with Iran, and Iran responded by firing on vessels and seizing ships. They've basically turned this critical waterway into a maritime no-man's land.
So why zero in on this specific stretch of water? Well, let's zoom out and look at the macro-level economic impact. Roughly 20% of the world's total oil consumption passes right through the Strait of Hormuz. By squeezing this singular geographic bottleneck, both sides have effectively weaponized the global energy supply. And the result? Worldwide oil and gold prices are surging to record highs, sending absolute panic through global financial markets.
Section 3. The AI information war.
This is where things get truly surreal. Both sides are aggressively trying to control the domestic and global narrative using some highly unconventional, super-modern tech. Sources report the Trump administration has distributed messaging that actually uses clips from the video game Call of Duty and Hollywood blockbuster movies to project military dominance. In response, Iranian state-controlled media used AI text-to-video modeling to produce a bizarre, Lego-style animation showing Iranian forces attacking American outposts. It's an absurd but deadly serious battle for psychological dominance.
And the accusations regarding this new brand of warfare are flying thick and fast. President Donald Trump publicly stated Iran is using artificial intelligence as a disinformation weapon. This really highlights how AI has officially moved from being just a tech sector novelty to a recognized, weaponized tool of state-level psychological warfare in an active conflict.
The fallout of this tech war is massive public confusion. Fact-checkers from organizations like NewsGuard are scrambling nonstop. For example, there was this viral rumor regarding the death of the Israeli prime minister, and it was amplified by these surreal AI deepfake videos. It got so bad that it forced the prime minister's office to release a proof-of-life video of him sitting at a coffee shop. And the craziest part? That video itself was then bizarrely accused by some AI models of being a deepfake. The informational waters are completely muddied.
Section 4. Deadlock in peace negotiations.
Let's move to the diplomatic timeline and see how this builds, because the frustration is just palpable. First, initial high-level talks in Islamabad collapsed entirely. Second, desperate back-channel communications were opened via Qatar and Pakistan. Third, the U.S. sent over a draft memorandum with newly added assurances for Washington. And fourth, Iran outright rejected those terms, demanding massive revisions. It is a diplomatic pendulum swinging wildly back and forth. When you strip away all the political posturing, the fundamental disagreements preventing a permanent ceasefire really come down to two primary demands. Iran desperately wants tangible economic relief, specifically the unfreezing of $24 billion to resuscitate an economy decimated by blockades and sanctions. On the flip side, the United States' uncompromising counter-demand is absolute, ironclad guarantees that Iran will permanently halt all uranium enrichment and nuclear development.
Despite this massive gap in expectations, the public messaging from the U.S. administration continues to project absolute confidence. President Trump posted on social media, "Iran really wants to make a deal, and it will be a good one for the USA. Just sit back and relax."
However, to balance the narrative, the rhetoric coming directly from the Iranian Foreign Ministry and their chief negotiators is starkly different. They've publicly warned that the United States is not to be trusted, insisting that they will not surrender their rights or agree to a deal under the current U.S. terms. It's a classic, high-stakes standoff.
Section 5. Global fallout and future. And this brilliantly illustrates the geopolitical fracture we are seeing right now. The international community is completely divided. You have traditional U.S. allies like Canada, Australia, and the U.K. publicly supporting the strikes. On the other end of the spectrum, you have over 100 international law experts and various UN officials aggressively condemning the conflict, warning it violates the UN Charter. Meanwhile, nations like South Africa and Qatar are frantically trying to maintain neutrality and push for dialogue.
The cascading effects are just incredible to observe. Beyond the immediate death and destruction, we're seeing soaring global commodities. Believe it or not, the conflict is actually fracturing European far-right political parties who just can't agree on a unified stance. Domestically, here in the U.S., sources report the FCC has even threatened broadcasters' licenses over their coverage of the war. And locally, neighboring Gulf states are pleading with both sides, absolutely terrified of being permanently caught in the crossfire.
Which leaves us with this final, absolutely vital question. Long after the missiles stop and the blockades are lifted, how will this conflict permanently alter international law and global trade norms? We've seen the rules completely upended in real time. I really encourage you to keep this question in mind as these events continue to unfold. Thank you for joining us today on this deep dive into the source material. Stay curious, stay focused, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.